growing up for me, it was my mom constantly being like, there's food on the table, there's a roof above your head, and da 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 da. And like I had to look at at that and be like, what? Because like underneath everything, even if it's negative, there's love, there's something there, there's a truth that is there. And like now as an adult, that voice of my mother being like, there's food on the table, there's a roof above your head, what do you mean you don't have everything that you need, what do you mean you don't have it? And I was like, and I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
roof above my head, there's food on the table.
Welcome to the Holistic Life Navigation Podcast, where we explore life through the lens of somatics. I'm Luis Mujica, a somatic educator who teaches people how to find safety in themselves. Your turn to learn begins now. Welcome, Daníel Colón. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be able to share space with you finally. It's been a minute.
Yeah, it has. You are so fun. You know, like I recently this year have been orienting because I've worked in trauma therapy for 6-7 years now. And so I've been orienting toward joy because it's so easy with this line of work to just look at the ruptures. And you know, your accounts is one of the accounts that really brings me this like medicine of joy. So I want to thank you for that.
Thank you for recognizing it. Yeah, I empathize in many ways. That's really how Color Me Crazy started. It was a playground for me to work through my trauma as well, and to alchemize it into something beautiful. You know, where there is darkness, there is also light as well. And you know, from recognizing our darkness, we can really extract some beautiful fun things. And I'm just having fun. I'm even having fun with the shadow work. I'm having fun with the darkness as well. I'm dancing with it, I'm playing with it, I'm at analyzing it, and then just like being free with this quote unquote work. I don't like to call it work. It's
Yeah.
play.
It's play. I love that you call it a playground. You know, I think taking your trauma to a playground is just so gorgeous.
Yeah, why not? Take it to
Why
the
not?
playground, put it on a swing, and maybe like a little grumpy at first, but you trust and believe you'll get a little smirk out of there
Hmm.
eventually, and you're like, see, there's something here to this.
It's true. It's true.
Uh,
I want to know your origin story because you know, in recent posts you were talking about moving back to Borinquen, and I
yeah.
just want to know, like, tell us your story. I just want to hear whatever the story is of you.
I love answering this question because it always changes based on like where I'm at, you know, where
Yeah.
I'm at. Like the origin story definitely changes. I guess one of the easiest things to reach for right now is I lived in New York City for like 10 years. I moved there from Florida after, you know, a near-death experience, which
Oh, what was that experience?
I totaled my car, overturned my car 3 times. It was absolutely my fault too, because you know I was very much living with the trauma and over-identifying with the trauma, and all of that. Chaos emerged from you know the internal world that I was creating. It definitely manifested in the physical. Overturned my car 3 times. The cop, you know, I woke up upside down, and the cop came around and was like, so I'm not going to write you a ticket because I think you learned your lesson from this.
Wow.
Go out and live. That's
Wow, that's amazing.
yeah.
That's like you went to some magical portal or something.
So much facts. Yeah. And, you know, I stumbled into my job at Dave and Buster's at the time. I got let go from Rainforest Cafe. I was serving, you know, making money in that way. And you know, I wasn't too disheartened by being let go from Rainforest Cafe. But I was at Dave and Buster's, and I was on break, and I called my brother. He lived in New York at the time, in New York City. I was like, "Hey, bro, I literally have no idea what to do. I have no car now. I just like don't know." He's like, "Hey, I'm gonna book you a one-way ticket, and you come by, you see what's good, you see if you like it, and whatnot." Meanwhile, that you know that voice of the cop going, "Go out and live," is in the back of my mind. So I'm like, I guess I'm gonna go out and live because like
Hmm.
literally almost died. So
How old are you? How old are you here?
I'm early 20s. So we're
Okay.
talking about 23. Yeah. moved to the concrete jungle, did all you would think like, okay, this kid almost lost his life, he's going to go out and live. I definitely lived, but in like the party sense, you know. New
Yeah.
York is that it's that vessel, and it was beautiful in that way that I got to really experience so many different cultures, so many different beings. I got to explore my queer identity in a way that felt better than exploring it in Florida, but still was very much escapism. It was escapism in so many ways. I didn't live. I still didn't go out and live. I just tried to live how people in New York lived. And then, 10 years passed. I tried acting. I tried managing restaurants. I tried so many things. 2020 came around. I got let go of my job. And I was managing a restaurant for like 4 years. And I was like, this is what I do, I guess. I manage restaurants. And, it was fine for me for that time. I came, the Holt happened in 2020. I was jobless for like the first time ever in my life, since I was 16. I was making more money on unemployment than I was making like managing the restaurant as well. So I literally had income to just explore and try things out. Now I was just like, I guess I just play now. I guess I just try things out. Made a whole bunch of investments, tried a whole bunch of things. And just the creative force of just creation itself. I got into making t-shirts. I got into painting. I got into spoken word. I just started creating all of these things that I always loved doing, even when I was younger. So a lot of inner child healing happened during 2020. And then I was called to go in deeper to the self. And I was meditating one day, and Spirit was just like, go to Puerto Rico, just go home. And this was always something that I entertained, but I was in a partnership at the time, which, kept me kind of in that place. And lo and behold, he broke up with me, and I was like, I guess I go to Puerto Rico now.
Yeah.
And here I am. It's been the most transformative experience ever. I live with my grandmother and my great grandmother. So nothing
Wow.
like exploring generational wounds and generational trauma than by literally being with two generations of women. So I got to see a lot of myself through them. I got to see a lot of my insecurities through them, and that awakened me more and more and more. A lot of people ask, like, when was your spiritual awakening? I'm like, it's every day, every moment is awakening. Every minute is awakening. There are certain moments which like are big in my life, but like I've been on this journey since I was born. I've been on this process since I was born. I think now it's coming into more 3D because I have a following now on social media and all that, because I was just sharing my joy and my connection with the universe. And here I am. Here.
That I'm lit up by so many things, so I'm just kind of feeling into them. I mean,
Yeah.
the first is like I want to highlight, if you're queer, go to New York, like
Yes.
because like that's where you go to play with that, right? That
Yeah.
was my experience as well, and then go somewhere else when you're done,
Oh
um,
yeah. Go some.
right? It's like the petri dish is there, and then like you you outgrow the petri dish, and so you go into a warmer petri dish. There's even more bacteria awakening now, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, there's just so much I want to ask you because I resonate with so much of your story, and everything you share, and I just love this image of you being with these two women from your
Oh,
lineage. Like, how many
so
people in their 30s get to live with a great grandparent? That's amazing. That's
it's
like
really a blessing.
incredible. Yeah,
I
and so you see the origins of what was passed down, right? Like, tell us about that a little bit.
I realized that, the sheriff telling me to go out and live was the breaking of the generational cycle. If I look at how powerful as they are. Also, I mean, what a beautiful queer story. It's like I grew up with a single mother, three younger brothers, oldest of three brothers. My mother was definitely a dominant force in the household, wore the pants, wore the skirt, wore all of that. She was all the archetypes. And like my grandmother married and divorced once, never was with another man ever again in her whole entire life. Just had her three kids. So like that energy was very much present there. And it just, after that, after the divorce, after all of that, it just became taking care of people, just taking care of people, take care of people, take care. She's the main caregiver of my great grandmother right now. And, you know, yes, we are here to care for others, absolutely. But authentic care of others really stems from authentic care of the self. So although that wound of, you know, let's say infidelity with a divorce that my mother experienced, as well as with my mother as well, my grandmother and my mother, all of that, it was masked with taking care of other people. The wound was still present, and the wound manifested as just not really living for oneself. So upon having conversations with my great grandmother and my grandmother, I realized that they to a certain extent, they too were not living. They weren't living as well. They were scared to live. They were scared to do things. My great grandmother talks about how much she loves the ocean. She's a beautiful Pisces babe. Absolutely. She's 96 now. And, you know, when she does pass on into the non-physical, you know, like definitely the matriarch of the family is done. You know, my grandmother doesn't have any, interest in that either. She has very masculine energy. She's Aries. And like very much that she's not interested in like taking care of an entire family and that to that extent, which is like great. I'm just like, grandma, go out and live then. She's like, yeah, I want to go back to Florida. I want to do this. I want to do that. I'm like, yes, do it, do all of it. And literally that's been the energy that is present here with myself and me being like, oh, well, we can do that. My mama Georgie, she talks about, oh, I love the ocean, but like I'm still terrified of her because once upon a time I almost drowned. And like I just want to go back and like at least put my feet into the water. I'm like, yeah, let's go do that then, mama. Like let's go put our feet into the water. She's like, oh no, it's just like I don't know if I could walk or anything. I'm like, we can figure it out. We'll figure it out. And like,
ooh, I got chills just imagining this woman going to the water. Like, oh, you are Moana. Like, this is so beautiful. Oh, it's so gorgeous. It's just so gorgeous. It's because there's two things happening here. You went back to motherland and you went back to grandmotherland. So you're not just on the land, like you're in La Casa, you know, of the family. Like there's something special about that. Well, how does that vibrate through your being to be on the land? Like, what's that like?
Oh, it feels so on purpose, more at like I feel more at home than ever before. And the interesting thing is like I grew up in the States, so like I'm Puerto Rican. But like now I'm adamantly saying like, yeah, no, I'm Puerto Rican, I'm Boricua.
Yeah.
And like that's who I am. Growing up, I was definitely labeled as a half Rican, a sort of Rican, an in-between a Rican, not Puerto Rican.
Celta Rican here.
Puerto Rican, there you go.
Yes.
Pero like that Taino lineage, that like indigenous lineage is still very much alive and present within us. And it's always beckoning us. It's always calling us home. You know, water holds memory. And like by the time that we become a physical being, we have so many generations worth of memory ingrained in our DNA. So I think there are a lot of, you know, Boricua kids on the mainland who like grew up on the mainland, who are products of assimilation, who feel like this call to the island, but there's this disconnect there. And literally the only way to make that connection happen is just to do it. Take the leap, take the impulse. You don't know Spanish? I get it. You don't know Spanish. If that's the thing, you can learn and trust and believe. Puerto Rico is like colonized enough where you'll be able to get around with English.
That's very true.
So like it feels good to like listen to the call and for me to like talk to my inner child and the identity issues that I had surrounding being Boricua growing up. Cause I was like, well, if I'm not accepted by the Puerto Rican folk, then I'll go where the people will accept me. And it was the white community, which like beautiful community in its own right, but they were definitely like, yeah, you're Puerto Rican, but you're not that type of Puerto Rican.
Oh, yeah.
Like, oh, what is
that? Yeah. Oh,
and
yeah.
And then you add queer into the mix. And I'm like, you're a queer person, but you're not that type of queer person. And then it's like, the identity crisis of it all. And New York was very much me that playing around with different identities, trying different things on. And it wasn't until I got home, I came home. that I finally realized what home feels like, and
Mm.
like what love feels like, what connection feels like to the earth, which is just like, oh, this is what it is. This is what this feeling is about. Oh, I just needed an example. And that's what happens when you just follow that impulse. I just listened. I just finally listened to the call over and over again. The universe was saying, go, 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 go. I get distracted by a shiny thing here. And I just finally, like, the universe literally stripped me of every excuse whatsoever and was like,
That's
do
right.
it.
That's right.
The same day my ex-boyfriend broke up with me was the same day I called my abuela, and she was just like, I know. I was waiting for this phone call.
Mm.
Waiting.
Mm.
I've been waiting. 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 Come home. Come home. And let me tell you, I'm eating good. I'm
Oh,
eating,
I bet you
getting
are.
taken care of. I'm getting loved up on. I'm receiving that maternal love in a way that is just like, you can't put a price tag on it. So, yeah.
So this is so lovely, because my grandfather was so assimilated, like when
Mm,
he moved, I think he was 23 when he left. And he moved to New Jersey and then Pennsylvania, and he ended up working for the army. Taught himself English, spoke very little English, but he spoke enough to get by.
yeah.
And he just advanced, and he made this amazing life for our family. And he had this, like, I was, the inner colonizer,
Mm.
where he would I have these memories of sitting at the table and my grandmother cooking like hot dogs and grilled cheese for us, and then like his like bacalao with like seitan goya seasoning. And I was like, why are we separating the food? Are we segregating, or really we're segregating the food too? So it was
Oh.
like, it was so intense. And it was only, he died 2 years ago in 92.
Mm.
And it was a year before his death. No, was that true? I think he was 89 or 90, a couple years before his death. I called him and I said, Abuelo, are we Taino?
Mm.
Because we always said Spanish Indian. There was never, it was just so, it was like this, it was like this total. So I thought, because my last name's Mojica, oh, Mohican Indian, so where I went as a 5-year-old. And that was my story for like 30 years. And so I called him, I'm like, are we Taino? And he's like, yes. And he went with this whole, it was almost like he was waiting 90 years for someone to ask him. And he went
Wow.
on this long tirade of beautiful warriors and the feathers and the paintings and like, I was like, what is this? And so in the last 2 years, I started going to the island for the first time in my life. And the
Beautiful.
moment my feet touched the ground, the moment I smelled the air, I was like, why do I feel like I belong here? Like I'm so assimilated beyond,
Yeah.
and I feel like I belong here more than anywhere I've ever felt in my life.
I
And now
change.
I'm like addicted to it. I can't get enough. And so I'm always trying to find a way to like eventually live there. But when you're talking about this, it's just like selfishly my heart is singing because I parallel that experience. I'm so white presenting. And when your identity is mixed, growing up, it's you really like identify with your mixed siblings, don't you? It's like each
Oh yeah.
there's something we went through that no one else can really fathom.
It's very niche. I think it's very niche to our generation, it's very niche to our generation. And I think, there's a lot of guilt associated with the in between. And where I'm at right now is uplifting and like alchemizing that guilt. It's a privilege.
Mm,
A
mm,
privilege that we can speak both the language of the colonizer and the indigenous. It's a
agreed.
privilege. That's really the only way we're going to merge these polarizing sides like together. That's really the only way we can come together is by really living in our hybrid nature of ourselves, of being
See,
able to speak both the language of the oppressor and of our people.
part of me thinks that's almost like nature's little sneaky trick, is like
Mhm.
somehow got us together so we could alchemize this shit. And so like when you say that, I so much trauma came from being, for me, being culturally mixed and being, I have an intersex expression as well. So being like biologically mixed with gender and sexuality, I was just a mixed motherfucker. Okay. And it's like, I didn't know what to do. I was not a cocktail. I'm like, well, how do I deal with this? All right, maybe I was a cocktail of many things.
I guess you were.
Yeah, it was a mix. But so it got to this place for me, and I wonder for you, where eventually I started having like all this like pride in it. I was like, oh, I'm a middle person. Like I'm a bridge maker. Like this is like a shamanic initiation that I didn't realize I had. Tell me about that for you.
I mean, if my emotions and the way that I express it in my body aren't giving you any hint or clue of how it feels and expresses in me, like, I mean, I don't know what you're watching or listening to. Yeah, it's really like a new character achievement unlocked. Like it really does feel that way. And now I wear it like pridefully. And I love the space that I create when I share this story amongst people who also see themselves in me. And they're like, oh, for so long, I've been blaming the assimilation. For so long, I've been blaming the colonization, the blaming. And I got to a point where, quite frankly, I had to look at the blame and be like, where's the blame taking me? Like, where
there you go.
Like, it's like you can only blame external forces so much. And like really the key to all of this is taking radical responsibility for the now and the way that you show up in the world. And I can either show up as weakness or I can show up as power with what I've been given. I'm going to choose to show up in power. What's the power in this? I am here in Puerto Rico where I'm seeing like Puerto Rico is really the most modern representation of like colonization that we're seeing without, the blood and like the pillaging in that way that we've seen depicted in the in the history books. It's still happening metaphorically. It's still very much happening. And that's where I'm at on my journey now. I'm transitioning from color me crazy. I go from color me crazy on my socials to color we crazy. Cause like I understand me so much more and I'm like, get the attention off of me a little bit.
Yeah.
Like I want more of people. So now I'm in the midst of like really sitting with that of like, okay, cool. I could speak English. I could speak Spanish. I can speak both languages. How can I mix both of these so that like we're the ones taking care of the land. We're the ones coming back home. We're the ones buying property. We're the one investing into community. It's one thing to watch a social media post and be an angry Puerto Rican and be like, oh my God, gringo, go home. Like things like that.
Yeah.
But like, what are you doing? What are you doing about
it? That's right. So wait, let's pause there because that's where your manifesting work really resonates with me. Because there's like, so I call it like the decolonial manifesting because there's this manifestation that to me is so dominant and it's all about just kind of more dominance. It's like, I want to be a billionaire. I want a fast car. I want everyone to do it. I want to be beautiful. It's just like, we're manifesting more assimilation essentially. But I love this place you seem to go to that just feels natural for me, which is we get to these magical places just kind of very easily and naturally by being like so grateful for the support now. So tell us about that because so many people use manifestation to bypass the now, whereas you use it to radically come into the now. Tell us the difference.
Yes. Oh my God. Manifestation is so about the now. It's more about the now than anything. And it's about really getting tapped in, tuned in, turned on to like all that is really working in harmonious synchronicity in your benefit in the right now, even the bad shit, even the bad things that are happening and are manifesting in your life are happening for you. They're happening for you. It's dependent to you. It's what you do with the data. It's what you do with the data that you're receiving. There's a lot of cooperative components that are working out. Like I always go to the practical. Growing up for me, it was my mom constantly being like, there's food on the table, there's a roof above your head, and da 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 da. And like I had to look at that and be like, what? Because like underneath everything, even if it's negative, there's love. There's something there. There's a truth that is there. And like now as an adult, that voice of my mother being like, there's food on the table, there's a roof above your head. What do you mean you don't have everything that you need? What do you mean you don't have it? And I was like, and I'm like, oh,
yeah,
roof above my head. There's food on the table. I can hop into my car. I can drive wherever I want to.
Mm,
Oh, I can. Oh, you know what time it's 4 o'clock. If I leave right now, I can drive up and down through the mountains and watch the sun setting perfectly in between the mountains. And it looks like
mm.
I'm living in Jurassic Park. Oh,
Ah,
let me go right now. Let me hop in the, like, oh,
I'm hopping on a plane right now.
let's go. Let's go. Come to the
Let's
West
go.
Side.
I'll be there in 5 hours.
Come to the West Side. We'll go. We'll hop into my
Oh.
beautiful like I always say like I identify as a lesbian because like God, I love a
Yo
lesbian.
también.
I love it. We can hop in my lesbian mobile. It's like a cute like little SUV. We'll go up and down the mountains. We'll go
Oh
dance
yeah.
in the river, and it's just like there's so much in the now. There's so much in the now that is working for you. So like what somebody does when they hear this argument, they go, yeah, but like my now is not looking as good as your now. Like, but I don't see it in
Yes.
that way. And it's like, okay, well, there are things that you can do in the now that would coach you and would like just gently nudge you towards being able to see the world in this way. It's just a perceptual shift. You can nurture yourself in certain ways. Like if there's a certain food that you like, for some people, it's like they're foodies. So I'm a foodie too. So like if there's a certain food I like, I'm going to order myself a pizza. I'm going to really enjoy this pizza bite by bite and really indulge every single bite. I'm like, oh God, I love pizza.
I am tasting it as you say it.
Exactly.
It's like I'm feeling it from you. Your joy is like putting it
I,
in me.
and then everything else that comes outside of it is just an added bonus. You know, you get the
Mm.
car, you get the house, you get the soulmate, you get the kids, you get all of that, but you get it because you are creating the energetic vibration in the now, which then the universe goes, more of this. I talk about the universe as being the OG of algorithms. We're constantly filling that algorithm with either what we want or what we don't want. And the universe is always presenting to us like more of this. And we double tap, not even knowing like, okay, more doom and gloom, more sadness, more sorrow, more anger, more this, because that's the energy that we're putting out into the world. I mean, it doesn't mean don't honor those emotions. I'm not saying bypass them, but definitely nurture them. What is your anger telling you about you? Because underneath your anger, there's a source of power that is so hungry to be unearthed and born. You know, what is your sadness telling you? There's something about that like there's something in those emotions that will guide you toward manifestation's not elusive. It's not something that only rich people can do.
See,
Um,
that's important to me because the language I use through somatics is capacity. So when you say
yeah,
vibration, vibration and capacity are the same thing.
absolutely,
Because
absolutely,
so many people hear vibration, they think it as a dissociated kind of spiritual context, but it's a bodily experience. Vibration,
right.
and capacity. It's like if my mind is orienting toward a vibration that is so much bigger than I can handle in my body, it's
Uh,
always going to be my little body against this impossible future, and I'm going to feel stuck. But
yeah.
when there's that like titration based on, can I just feel the decadence of the grease of the pizza dripping down my mouth? Like if I can just like right, like if I can just get off on that right now, imagine how much capacity I have to get off on the next thing that comes in my orbit. Is
Yes,
that how it is for you?
it is. That's it. It's capacity. It brings me because like with manifestation, a lot of people just think about law of attraction, but
Yeah.
there's also the law of resonance too, as well.
Yes.
You
Tell us about
also
that.
it's resonating with what you desire because so like people are just like, I want the big house, I want the fancy car, I want this. Okay, cool. Well, are you resonating with that? Because oftentimes there's fear associated with these big things, fear of failure, but most importantly, fear of success as well, and what we do with our success. There's a lot of subconscious things that get in the way of us being able to fully put out that resonance out into the universe. Maybe you're only resonating at being really grateful for pizza right now. And that's great. And you'll be okay. Maybe that's where you're at as far as resonance. We're really running with this metaphor.
Yeah, I love it.
And like you really vibrate, you really resonate, you really like resonance and capacity, the capacity for that good feeling. That's where you're at. You're like, the
Yes.
feeling is present, but this is the capacity for the good feeling that I can actually express and embody it authentically. This is the capacity that I have for it. And it lives with pizza. And as you really live with the pizza and enjoying the pizza, you're going to be like, yeah, but I know there's more. That desire for more is going to be there. So maybe you're going to resonate with a different feeling. Maybe it's like, I'm going to like really spoon my partner, but I'm going to really love the spooning of my partner and really indulge in the security that I have with my partner. Oh, security is present here. Why was I feeling unsafe before? Oh, I'm going to really love the security of this. I'm really going to love the feeling of this. And I'm going to reciprocate this feeling as well. You know, we're reciprocating. And when we reciprocate, we reinforce this good feeling within ourselves as well. So that adds more and more and more. And trust, as you explore these feelings, these good sensations more and more and more, you will be like, I feel all powerful. I'm omnipotent. Good feeling doesn't stop at pizza with me anymore.
No.
Good feeling is everywhere. And I have this good feeling with me everywhere, no matter where I go. Oh my God. Then the house would happen. Then the car would happen.
Yes.
And I bet you, even once you reach that moment, the fucking house and the car wouldn't even, like, they're not even on your list anymore.
Don't even care. Yeah,
All
exactly.
you want to do is have a good time. All you want to do is have a good time, and your embodiment of a good time is just like oozing and permeating in literally every conversation you have with someone. You see people light up by just your presence. Your energy is affirmed by the opinions that other people have of you. Like, oh, I love your energy. I love your vibe. I feel so nice when I'm around you, and that feeds your soul and spirit a little bit more. And then you're just you're manifesting. You're just creating. You're creating. Manifesting is just the intentional use of manifesting is just like your awareness, guiding your awareness to intentionally create something that you want. You can intentionally create gloom and doom if you want. That's something you can absolutely do that, or you can intentionally create a good time. I grew up.
That right there is the alchemy of the mind and the body, isn't it? Because there's this like incredible, if I'm attuning or orienting towards something painful, I'm going to naturally feel pain. It's like the body resonates to the attunement. If I attune to something beautiful, I'm going to feel beauty. I mean, it's literally that simple. And I think the conditioning is that the standard is the pain. And so when we start saying, well, let's attune to the joy, we call it bypassing.
Yeah.
And I find it interesting because when we're attuning to the pain, we're bypassing the joy. You know, so it's like if we can't attune to all of it and kind of overcome the whole experience by feeling the whole experience, something's getting bypassed.
Gotcha.
And when you're saying about like nurturing and tending, if the anger comes up, nurturing anger and attuning to anger, they're so different, you know, because if I'm building and looking and identifying with anger, I am dead end. But if there's a nurturing, like, oh sweetie, what do you have to tell me? Like, what do you need? Like, how are you trying to blossom through me right now? Like the humility to let it move through you. It's just, to me, it's just endlessly amazing.
The space that's created with that, you know, there's a reason there's this expression of, I'm seeing red when we're angry. I'm seeing red. Well, when we're angry, root chakra is activated. Root chakra is activated and is going.
Exactly.
So there's an imbalance there, and it's the overflow. And like, trust and believe, there were signs. There were signs. You were being led, and then you were going, no, just suppress, just suppress, just suppress. And how long are you going to suppress before it boils over? Your energetic, the energetic sensors we have in our body could only handle so much before there's just like a, duh, what happens? Root chakra is activated. Throat chakra wants to express and activate and say something. And I'm just like, right now, I'm like coaching with people. They're like, well, what do I do with anger? We have a lot of angry people. I'm a very angry person. Y'all may not like know that, but like, I'm Aries, angry. I get angry. All the things. And like, my karmic lesson is constantly being like, breathe.
Wait, so give us an example. I have to ask you this because I know people listening are going to be like, well, I want to know more. And so the two things I want to know, I want an example of you getting angry and nurturing it. And then I want an example of something shitty that has happened for you.
Oh my gosh. Well, I think the best thing to talk about shitty that happened for me is the breaking up. The breaking up.
Tell us about it. Yeah.
So you know, I had this partnership with somebody, and like, you know, the next partnership that I have with someone, I'm always going to create partnership. Libra rising in the house. I love it. Like, I
need a Franco rising in the house.
Nani DeFranco, I love it. That's perfect. I see it now. I can't
She's coming through. She's coming
She's
through.
present. She's
I'm
present.
sensing something.
There's the lesbianic energy that I
That's
was looking
right.
for. There it
That's
is.
right.
So yeah, the breakup happened. And it was the first time I was broken up with. The very first
Oh,
time
wow.
I was ever broken up with. As an Aries, you know, we do like to control. So I would always be like, no, I have to be the one to break up with you because I have to. It's how and my power is from me. So I was broken up with him over something really ridiculous. I brought up the conversation surrounding sensuality, sexuality, and I was just like, I'm really tired of doing this heteronormative stuff. Let's like kind of explore other realms of like the orgasmic, energetic body and all of that. He was appalled by this statement, so much so that he broke up with me because he was like, how dare you question how I express myself sexually and whatnot? Like, this is weird. I talked to my friends about it and they think you're weird. And I was like, he broke up with me. He broke up with me, and trust and believe, I was like, the very last words, this is how dramatic I was. I was like, just so you know, you're leaving something fucking amazing. I'm amazing. I'm amazing. And you're leaving something amazing.
Can we get an echo added to that? Whoever's editing this, if we can just echo that statement, that would just that will symbolize the drama.
Yep. I was like, you're leaving the best fucking thing in your life. I was like, the dramatics. And that's where my anger led me.
Yeah.
But deep within that anger and that statement was for me. You know, it wasn't for him. And like, you know, what happened after that statement, I went back home, I boohooed, cried and all of that. And I felt insignificant. I felt unworthy. I felt unloved. I felt abandoned. I felt strange. I felt like I couldn't speak my mind. And I was like, whoa, wait, let's turn it back, because literally an hour ago, now you're crying on the 7 train. Literally an hour ago, you were like, I'm amazing. You're leaving the best fucking thing in your life. That came from somewhere.
Yes.
From a truth. Now, how are you going to believe that for yourself now? And that's where the nurturing came in. That's where okay, cool. Now let's go deep within the self. Now I'm so self-sufficient. Now, if that were to come up, I wouldn't even have to tell that person, I'm amazing. I'm fucking brilliant. You're leaving the best thing in your life. I just know it. And I'll just be like, okay, that's it.
Okay, we have to pause. I love this. I love this image of you on the 7 train, like crying in your coffee.
It's always a Queens boy. It's always a boy from Queens.
It's always a boy from Queens. And you're just feeling horrible. You're feeling alone. You're feeling left. You're feeling like low. And minutes ago, you're saying you're leaving the best thing ever. That's profound, because so many of us will have these experiences where we like scream something at someone because we're wanting them to believe it for us. Mm-hmm. And you had this moment of noticing, oh, that's for me. That's not for him to believe. That's for me to hold and nurture. That's really transformative.
Very transformative.
Was that like a quick transformation to take months to titrate into and integrate? Like, what was that like to shift there?
It took time. It took time. And I think what was helpful for me was social media. And like, I think social media is beautiful. It's a wonderful tool that we can use to play. And I use it to really play with the best version of myself. And that's what I started utilizing it for. I had all of these deep, profound truths. I was like, oh, you are the power. You are what's worth it. And now I'm shouting into a camera like, you are the power. You are worth it, which is in turn me talking to myself, a reflection, mirror work. And through time, I really believed it. And like now it's just like, no excuses. I believe it. But in the beginning, if you go back and look at my videos, you can very much see someone who is just playing with the concept of self-worth, of power, of all of this. And like, even though in the moment I didn't really, it still felt authentic in the moment. Now it feels more grounded. It didn't happen overnight. It took months. And even with me moving to Puerto Rico, I was just like, I needed to like also physically move away from the same city as this person who I felt hurt from as well. That still was living there. And my inner child needed to know that I was safe from that person, from like, because he broke up with me 3 times. 3 times he broke up with me. And each of the times it was because I said something that I wanted to know about our relationship that was like too much. And then he'd come back and be like, actually, you had a point. And then we get back together. And this was the 3rd time. And like, I was just like, no, I can't even create the space. Lo and behold, I started doing really well. And I started gaining a following on Instagram. He reached out to me. He's like, hey, I see you doing. And I was just like, yeah, I'm so thankful that you broke up with me.
Ooh, yeah, I love that because he was showing you that he didn't have capacity for what you wanted to build.
Yeah.
That's how he expressed it, and you finally got it.
Thank you for letting me go.
Thank you for letting me go. I love the social media piece. First of all, you are a lip sync assassin with Abraham Hicks. Like, it is profound. Yeah. I was at a sleepover mystery school. And there was this, I was co-facilitating the one weekend, and this woman there, Layla, who's definitely going to listen to this because she's a huge fangirl of yours. She's like, you have to see this guy. You have to see this guy. He's amazing. And she showed me this one thing of you. You were like laying outside under a tree, looking all fabulous, and Abraham Hicks was coming through your mouth. And I was like, this is amazing. And there was so much joy and fun and vibrance, which I really appreciate because Abraham is so cutting and like direct, and which I love. It's like a really great medicine, but the humor isn't always there unless you're like, I think it actually is, but it's not obvious.
It's hard to see the humor when it's like an animated. If you go and watch Abraham
That's right.
It's like Abraham Hicks in space with a glass of wine, yes. Like talking about all this wisdom. So there's a disconnect from like the actual human physical and like the divine channeled wisdom that is coming through Esther Hicks. So there's a disconnect.
And you bring that, like you deliver it so well through your body and your gestures and your spirit and your funniness and your queerness. Like all of it delivers like this message that is bigger than a human vessel. Like it needs to be dramatic for us to like enjoy it because it's so heavy and strange. It's otherworldly, really. And so I don't know why I started saying, because of social media.
Yeah.
I mean, can we just talk about for a moment? I was anti-social media for so long. Yeah. And so it was 2019. I was in private practice. And I was so overwhelmed. I was getting burnout. I kept saying yes to people because like everyone has trauma and it was hard to say no. And I thought I need to find a way to kind of like teach people and help people and guide them for free, where they can just click something and see something. I'm like, I'll try Instagram. Mm-hmm. And I told myself for 90 days, I was going to post every day and just see what happens. Again, the most ego death I could have gone through because I was so against social media and Instagram. And it has become like the most profound gift in my life, in my career, in my emotional self, being seen, transmuting shame. I mean, tell us your journey of going from, especially for you, you didn't go to some school and graduate and like, I'm a therapist now. Like your experience was your school, and then something in you integrated, and then you found the clarity to express. Like, tell us that journey. That's very interesting to me.
Yeah, and we live in a beautiful day and age where you don't really have to go to college.
Nope.
You don't really got to go to college to be a healer, to help people. You don't need the degree. You don't need any of that. In fact, I did go to college. I went to college for like 5 years. Did I come out with a degree? No, I did not. I had many credits. I was a marine biologist at one point. I was a psychologist. I was a theater major. I was so many things.
You sound like me right now.
Yeah.
So that was my experience. Yeah.
And it speaks to the nature of spirit is just curious by nature. We're just curious beings by nature. If you want to do the inner child healing, when you get an impulse, actually act on it and see where your curiosity leads you. You will be led to some sort of healing in some way, shape, or form. We're meant to play. We're meant to explore. We're not meant to like, you do this 1 degree and this is the 1 degree you are for the rest of your life. No ma'am, no ham, no turkey. I definitely was always a person that wanted to be seen. I was always the type of person that wanted to be seen. I wanted to be seen at home by my mother, which was like a very difficult thing, especially with like raising 3 boys, having 3 jobs and all of that. So I escaped to theater. So I was a theater kid, did a lot of theater shows. I was very much in the spotlight. I was seen in the theater space, but at home it felt like there was a disconnect. So theater became like that for me, everything to me. I got out of theater school. I tried to be an actor, didn't work because I was it was like I was labeled the ethnically ambiguous person. And like, what do you do with an ethnically ambiguous person circa 2008? Not much. We had Modern Family and Will and Grace for like queer characters, and then Queer as Folk, which is so heteronormative, at least that version of queer as folk. I tried being a YouTube celebrity then. So I created YouTube videos. They were so spastic, just like random things that I was throwing out into the world. It was just like, wow, this guy has a lot of energy. With that, I wasn't seeing the immediate results. I wasn't seeing the growth that I wanted. I wanted A Star Is Born, just like boom.
Yes.
It didn't happen.
There's that personal self case study of the manifesting too. You just wanted to get there.
Yeah, exactly. I want to get there. I want the results. I want to see it. I want it to be physical. If I don't touch it, if I can't feel it, then it's not real. And manifestation doesn't work that way. Manifestation is about like guiding yourselves to the sensation, to the feeling of touching it and like embodying it. And like, that is just as real as the physical manifestation, our imagination. And where we take ourselves as far as imagination goes, same thing as a physical. So I wanted to be seen. YouTube didn't work, and whatnot. So I kind of then just started working and doing what, I was taught and conditioned to do. If I wasn't going to become a star, I wasn't going to become a celebrity, I could at least make some money. I could make some coin. I always wanted to do social media. When I was feeling myself, I'd post a cute picture of myself and, I get some validation. I'd be like, oh, this is nice. This is nice. People think I'm cute. Yeah. People see me. But then the conversation transformed to, but do you see you? That's where the shift really started happening. I started sitting with the instant validation that I would get from a post on social media. And I started realizing, and from a very, very logical sense of like, oh, this feeling is fleeting. The instant validation is not like consistent, it's not sustainable. So I was like, what can I do here? And then of course, psychedelics expand your mind in so many ways as well. I was also looking at media and imagery and how media and imagery feeds into the subconscious mind and how we're constantly consuming information. I was like, if I'm going to participate with social media in this way, then I'm going to participate with it intentionally. I'm going to be intentional about it because I have a responsibility when I share something with the world. I have a responsibility in how that affects people. And I can affect people in a positive way, or I can affect people in a negative way. I have say in that. And that's when I, started just sharing my story and where I was at, what I was feeling, what I was experiencing, how I was processing, how I was embodying authenticity. And people found that to be inspiring. And it just became, like I said, it became a playground for me to play around with the best version of myself. And sometimes it was definitely me acting it out and performing my higher self, performing my best version of self. But that's not a bad thing. Nope. It's rehearsal. There was a lot of rehearsal that went into. That's why I love acting. You want a spiritual awakening, go to acting school. It'll teach you a lot about yourself. There's a lot of rehearsing that happens, especially when we're trying to, if you want to call it quantum leap, if you want a quantum leap to a more embodied version of self that feels more aligned, more connected, there's rehearsal. Sometimes that's where the spiritual ego can come in and just like kind of help us as far as like, no, this is what I believe in. I believe in this. Yes, crystals. Woo. Yes, sage. Oh, yes. We're connected to the divine. We're connected to it all. And I was playing with that. And now I'm just like, yeah, we're connected to the divine. We're connected.
That's where I love that. That's so good. That's so gooey. It's so sustainable because the other one for me is such a high that crashes. But yeah. Just like the mundane is as equally magical as something sparkly. Everything just becomes gorgeous. It's like, okay, anywhere I look, I'm satisfied. It doesn't have to be one thing.
That's what it is. It's just satisfaction. It's satisfaction. I'm not looking for like I'm on top of the world and da, 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 da. I'm looking for consistent satisfaction.
Mm. Oof. See,
That's
I
all.
love that because when you have these practices, that's when quote bad things or things that don't go your way, again, strange to some listening, they become satisfying. There's
Yeah.
like, because there's a playground inside of you that you develop, and you get to play with all this like junk that this experience brings up in you. So you
Oh,
stop orienting toward the experience and you orient, okay, what's this bringing up in me? What's the wisdom for me to get from this? And then your direct connection to the resolve and the repair, right?
yeah. It all like feeds into each other. And like I talk about like even my worst days now are good days.
Yes. Oh, I feel that one. I love when you were just saying about intention with Instagram,
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
because that was what really healed my negative overcouplings with it was,
Yeah.
noticing, okay, it's just like, to me, it was like an alleyway. And I'm like, cool
Mm.
things happen in alleyways. Like
Oh, yeah. It's
I had these,
portal.
yeah, like I had images of like, Jesus and these kind of figures that like walked into those, whorehouses that no one would go to.
Yes.
And like the hugging Saint Amma, like licking a man's wounds who had leprosy. Like
Yeah.
that's where I'm at in this lifetime. So why not go to every realm I can and just kind of serve how I want to, right?
Yeah, I mean, and it's really the shift of the now. I think, what we're seeing right now are a lot of, old things resurfacing. We're seeing a lot of the 60s energy presenting itself right now. We're seeing a lot of the early 70s energy, this like major conscious shift that happened. But what happened in the 60s and in the 70s during these major moments of collective transformation was there were leaders that people stood behind, and they were like, yeah, me too. Yeah, what that person's saying. Yeah, echo, 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 echo. And that was powerful. But what we're seeing with social media and the next stage of this collective consciousness shift is that we're all the leaders. We're all the leaders. We're our voice, everyone's voice is just as powerful. And that's what social media gives us access to, is that platform of like, okay, we're all the leaders, we're all the voice, we're all leading a conversation in some way, shape, or form. You can lead that conversation intentionally. You can worry about, all the major things that are happening, in Iran and around the world. You can focus on the worry of that. I'm like, I'm so worried. What can I do? What can I do? What you can do is, have a good time in the now and like affect the local communities you have access to now, and that will contribute to that positive ripple of change. And that's what I did with social media. That's my intention behind social media. It's like, even though there's chaos happening in the world, my contribution is going to add to the positive ripple of change. And if I can inspire more people to do the same, then that is radical protest. That is
That's
just as
right.
radical as me going and screaming at the top of my lungs that Black Lives Matter. And they do. They absolutely do. But what are we doing? What are we doing now? How are we nurturing this conversation? Because, even the Black Lives Matter conversation is about all of us. It's about everybody as well. So, like, where's the movement happening in that? It was beautiful for all of us to get together and march when we marched in 2020. It was beautiful. But you can see that the energy of that, it died down.
See,
It
this is
died down.
important because this is exactly what you're saying about that. Oh, I'm alive. I reached my pinnacle of spirituality, and kind of like, I'm alive.
I'm alive.
There is no pinnacle of spirituality. It's like this kind of sustained experience.
Neutrality.
Yeah, these experiences that become politicized. That's why I've never been a political person, because it's not long lasting enough for my taste. I like deep, rich gooiness, and it's like so surface. It becomes like a soundbite. And then
Mhm.
you echo the soundbite, you reprocess the soundbite, you put the soundbite as a bumper sticker on your car.
Mhm.
And does the soundbite become a lived experience in you that changes your life? Does it affect you for life?
Mhm.
That's like where it becomes medicine to me, instead of just like I don't know, like a performative experience, or even an intentional, a beautiful performative experience, like something where the intention is pure and it has an expiration date. And my perfect example of this is where we live in the mountains. There's this Haitian man that I'm friends with who doesn't drive. He walks everywhere. And he's like in his 60s, I would say. Very groovy looking guy.
Yeah.
And I'll see cars go by with Black Lives Matter bumpers on them, and they won't pick him up when it's like freezing in the rain and the rain's falling on him and he's like asking for a ride. And I just like, and I'm not saying that you should, but
yeah,
it's just an interesting image of
yeah,
like, well, what does that really matter when you put the soundbite on your car? Like, what does that mean about how you live your life? And so I love that you're saying this because we talk about this a lot in my work. Camille, especially one of the people on my team that helps me with a lot of the courses and such, we talk about like when you're oriented toward chaos in
mm,
another land, even chaos in another household, you're literally disoriented from your reality, which is the place you can affect shifts and change like instantaneously. And
yeah,
so there's that absence of your heart and your response and your presence when you're orienting elsewhere.
yeah,
And that's kind of the trick of media, not in a conspiratorial way, but like just alchemy way, like we said
mm,
earlier. If I'm
yeah.
attuning to pain, I'm filled with the pain of another's experience. I don't even know what my experience is. I can't even do anything.
Yeah, it's so real. It's like that's the big shift is just looking at it's not a bad thing. It's easy to hop on the bandwagon of like social media is bad, big tech is bad, da 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 da. It's like no, the awareness you have around it is the bad thing.
Yes.
It's your awareness
That's what
around
affects you.
that's
Yeah.
what affects you. Utilize it intentionally. People are like, well, how do I change my life? The easiest way, what does your Instagram feed look like? What does your TikTok feed look like? What are you watching? What are you consuming? Whether you know it or not, trust and believe your subconscious mind is looking at information and storing it, creating judgments, and just like boom, 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 boom. And
That's
over
right.
time, watching, video after video of another person being murdered, of another person, getting their children ripped away from them, of another cop inflicting harm on another person, you're filling your emotional space with this energy, and then you'll close that app and be like, I'm so depressed, I don't know what to do with myself right
That's
now.
right. The world sucks. There's nothing I can do because you've literally taken in experiences that aren't yours, which are inherently, that's naturally overwhelming. They're not your experiences. You can't change that experience that already happened.
You can't.
Yeah.
The world has always been chaotic. There's always been
Always will be.
chaos, always will be. But there's equally beauty present in the world.
That's right.
Bad shit always happened in the world. Major shifts have always happened. This is not the first lifetime in which we will experience major shift. It will happen again. We will reach a new phase of enlightenment, if you want to call that. We'll get comfortable with that enlightenment, and that enlightenment will become fucked up in its own right. And trust and believe, the next time, the next wave, the next battle will be us fighting like light workers who think they're light workers. And it's like, oh, y'all were the scam the whole time. Oh my,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's endless. It's endless. And that's why to me the answer is always self-attunement because
yeah.
right, if I'm like orienting outward for someone to tell me things are going to be okay or it's safe or what's the right thing to do, it's an
No.
endless cycle. But if I go
Yeah.
to my self-attunement, it's like, oh, there I am.
There.
So there I am amidst all of it. Like, no, there I am. And there's just this settling into my own self.
Ache.
So this I could talk to you for hours,
I
obviously.
can too.
What and we will sometime when I come to the island again. I
Yeah.
want to know what people listening, how can they work with you? What do you offer? Where do they find you? Tell us that part.
Yeah, absolutely. So y'all can all follow me on This Is Color Me Crazy on social media, on Instagram and TikTok. The best way to support me is just to come through. I host collective meditation Monday through Friday on Instagram Live at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's all donation based. All the work that I do is donation based. That's how I keep this information accessible. Because the people who I want to like affect the most are the babies who are just like understanding that there's something to it. And if I can hop in and just provide some practical way to contextualize the woo woo, then awesome, here I am. I always talk about like I know how to human really well. I know how to human really well. I'm spirit who knows how to human really well. And like I can demystify all of these spiritual concepts in a way that you can use it tangibly, practically. So come through on the social media. You can go ahead and support me on that. I do collective. I also do collect donation-based tarot reading every Tuesday. We have a book club every Wednesday. This month we're reading the Celestine Prophecy, which is this beautiful fiction adventure tale that's very much like The Alchemist. So every Wednesday we do that. I also sell t-shirts. I'm wearing one right now. I just made this one right now that says "You are the magic," and down the side of the arm it says "I am the magic." There's a little mushroom friend on there just for, the little. I'm such a psychedelic medicine advocate. I'm such an advocate for psychedelic medicine. You don't need it in order to be this at all. Like, you don't need it, but it does help if you're curious about it. I also demystify that a little bit on my platform. And yeah, that's basically it. I was going to have a retreat in Costa Rica coming up soon in May, but I am not doing it anymore because I want the first retreat to be here on the homeland.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, it's going to be here.
Oh, I want to go there. Tell me when that's happening.
I really want it to happen in April. I'm going to be turning 33 in April. So it's my Jesus year, definitely my mastery year. And right now you're getting a little mouche bouge of what this mastery is going to look like. It's going to definitely be more embodied for year 33. But yeah, I wanted to be in Puerto Rico. So another way you can support me, if you know of any retreat centers or whatnot here on the island that would want to collaborate with me, hit me up on the DMs, give me an email, do all of that stuff. I would love to. That's the next thing, is just collaborating and whatnot. That's how you can support.
So you are a hermano hermoso, and I am so happy to have met you and have you here. Just thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, anytime you want to have a conversation like this, let me know. If y'all are listening and you enjoyed this, it would be honored to be back. I enjoyed sharing space with you so much.
You'll definitely be back.
Okay, good. Open invitation. Quiero mucho.
That's right.
Te amo. Muchas bendiciones a todo. H, love, light, energy, all of those beautiful things. It's not that you deserve it. It's yours. All you have to do is claim it.
That's the end of today's episode. Now let's take a moment to notice where we feel the episode in our bodies. Close your eyes. Take a breath. And let whatever wants to come up, come up. And remember, those sensations hold the wisdom that we're looking for. If you want to go deeper, visit holisticlifenavigation.com.